From what we saw in the previous lecture, now we know that the main motivation behind USB was to replace all old and different communication protocols with a single protocol, where the user can connect the device to the computer and start using it immediately without installing different drivers or without getting confused by different communication protocols and their connectors and cables. USB was a big success, and as you can see nowadays, USB almost replaced all other old communication protocols, but of course, that didn't happen overnight. USB went through different development stages during the last 25 years. Let's take a quick look at them together. The first version of USB was released in January 1996. The speeds specified in this version are the low speed, which equals 1.5 megabit per second, and the full speed, which equals 12 megabit per second. The connectors specified in this version are the connector type A and the connector type B, and of course with the corresponding cables for these connectors. I'll show you later some images of them. In the first USB version, port extensions was not available, or let's say was not allowed, because of power and timing issues. USB was widely adopted after releasing the USB version 1.1 in September 1998. And this was the real start of USB spreading. Here I want to say that I'm not gonna mention everything specified in every USB version, but I'll try to mention the major points of every version. A couple of years later, in the beginning of this century, the second version of USB was released. This version brought a new high speed that equals 480 megabits per second. This version also specified some new small connectors, the Mini A, the Mini B, and the micro USB connectors, and from their names we can know that they are just smaller in size. And again, as said, I'll show you soon some images of them. This version also specified a new principle for the relationship between USB devices and the host. This new principle is called on-the-go OTG. OTG is used to switch the roles between USB device and host. The host becomes a peripheral or a device, and the peripheral becomes a host. One of the most common use cases for this is the modern Android phones. Android phone normally plays the role of a peripheral, so you can simply just connect it to your computer and start transferring files or images. And of course, your computer is the host in this case. However, when you want to connect a USB peripheral, or let's say a flash memory, to your Android phone over USB, the Android phone should switch its role from a peripheral to a host, and in this case, the flash memory will be the USB peripheral. This on-the-fly role switching between host and peripheral is called on-the-go OTG. This version also added the ability to use USB only to charge USB devices without transmitting any data. This new specification is called dedicated charging ports. This allows the USB peripherals to draw up to 1.5 amps from the host. 8 years later, in 2008, USB version 3 was released. This version brought a new super speed equals 5 gigabit per second. And not only this, in USB version 3.1, a new super speed plus was specified. This speed equals 10 gigabit per second. And that was not the limit. Few years ago, in 2017, in USB version 3.2, an additional data line was added to USB standard, which duplicates the speed from 10 gigabit to 20 gigabit per second, of course. Here you should also know, in this version of USB, a new connector, USB-C, was specified, and in this USB version, only the connectors type A and the connectors type C should be used. The other connectors and cables have been deprecated. And finally, in 2019, USB 4 was released. USB 4 is very new, and I guess it's gonna need some years to be seen in practice. In USB 4, only USB-C should be used, and all other cables and connectors have been deprecated. So even in your host, in your computer, you will not see a USB Type-A connector anymore, but only the small USB-C connector, which will help, of course, to design small computers and laptops. Just to let you know, USB 4 depends on a new technology that's called Thunderbolt 3, and it can transfer with a speed up to 40 gigabit per second. And as mentioned, this version uses only USB connector C.